one critical drug in short supply, we're talking antibiotics, which treat infectious and potentially fatal diseases like smallpox and pneumonia, and a whole lot more. What happens if there's an outbreak in America and we're completely out of antibiotics? Would the entire population be at risk? Now, my first guest, Phil, has been a pharmacist for 26 years. He says his business is suffering because of China, and so are his customers. He says America has got a big problem.
The drug shortage almost closed my business. Prices got so bad, availability was gone. I've watched my patients suffer. It is so terrible to tell a parent their child can't go to school or can't function because they don't have their ADD medications. And even worse are the cancer patients. How do you tell them that their medication is not available? I find myself begging from other stores in order to get just enough to get somebody through. But there's a day coming where that's not possible. API, which is an active pharmaceutical ingredient, predominantly are made in China. There's one factory in China that produces 100 of the top 500 medications that the WHO has stated as being essential. When children's Tylenol and ibuprofen shortages happened, it was actually because the Chinese people needed the Tylenol and ibuprofen, and China gave those APIs to the Chinese people first. The strict regulations of the United States have pushed the hand of pharma to move outside the United States. The Chinese worker makes 47 cents an hour. The standard working situation inside of China doesn't require EPA standards. It doesn't have working conditions. There's no OSHA. The FDA shows up to the American factories substantially more than they do the Chinese factories. They're under more scrutiny. How can the American factory, who we would love to have be making it, even start to compete with these people? Because we are so dependent on China for our drugs, this will end up being the perfect storm. It will become a bargaining chip that will make us weak in the world. And they know that they have us because there's no place to get your generic APIs except from China.
Phil, the pharmacist.
Listen, China, their pharmaceutical companies are command and control communist countries. The CEOs are members of the Communist Party. They're government owned, basically, and they can sell their completed drugs or the ingredients for the drugs for nothing. They can lose money on it. It doesn't matter. The government will subsidize it. By the way, it's those same pharmaceutical companies that are selling the raw ingredients to make fentanyl to the drug traffickers in South America and Mexico in order to do the opium wars in reverse on us. The opium wars were when the Great Britain Empire was trying to conquer China in the 1800s. They introduced them to opium, got them all hooked on it, and just took over. The other problem is that our government makes it increasingly harder and harder and harder to produce drugs in our country. And now we're beholden to other countries. We're beholden to other countries for that, for steel, for major components of all kinds of equipment. We don't produce anything in this country anymore.